And the recording is going to start. Okay, so let us start with today's session. And as I said last time, we discussed the brief introduction of the subject. And so the most important thing here is that this subject is very important from the point of view of improving the productivity and the operational efficiency of any unit. So the first it starts with operation strategy. How do you manage the operations of any industry so that you will have better efficiency? And for that, we need to know how industry works. What are products? What are services? How are they manufactured? If you don't know all of these things, you won't be able to go ahead and improve operational efficiency. Okay. So we have been discussing this, how old equations have changed and the new one is one of more competitiveness. Okay. And then we've been talking about um, the evolution of economy, and then we started what is a product. Okay, so what is a product? So product is anything that can be offered to a market for attention, acquisition, use, or consumption that might satisfy a want or need. Okay. So yeah, just a second, students. Okay, students. So is the screen visible again?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we started with what are the various classification of products, the consumer durables, uh, consumer fast-moving consumer goods, okay, and then military. So we have done all of these classifications, and now then we differentiated between, we told what is a service, okay, and we classified services also. So what is the main difference between goods and services? Service is not generally tangible. Goods is a physical object generally, and service is something which is intangible, and therefore goods can be resold, services usually cannot be resold. Goods you can inventory, service is very difficult to inventory it. Okay. And measuring goods quality aspects is quite easy, simply because all one has to do is measure various parameters. But services quality is more relative, it's based on the customer experience. So that is something which is very important. Then we have various characteristics of goods and services. The output is tangible, service output you can't touch feel it, not necessarily, is the experience that is most important. Then the customer contact is low for any goods, for any manufactured product, but customer contact is quite high for services. Uniformity of input is quite high for any goods. You have same type of raw material coming in, but for services it may be quite different. Okay. So in this way, you can go on and on. There'll be, but hopefully you get the point. What is the difference between a goods and the services? Okay. So, for example, here, output, product, service. Product is tangible, and service is intangible. So, what is regarding demand for product? It is uniform. Okay, for any goods, and it is variable for services. Ownership of product and services. So, what is the main thing about this? The ownership is very much possible in product. In services, you don't own the service. You rent out, or you use the service. You don't have typical ownership of it. Customer involvement, not too much. You just have some of the other market feedback. But here, your services, you will have more interaction of customers. Therefore, there's high amounts of interactions. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll share this slide, and you can do this yourself. It will be quite interesting. Now, this is something which I'd like to talk about. It's called the product service continuum. What it basically means is there is a product on one side and there is service on the other side. Product and service. Now, when we talked about the differences between products, and we talked about the differences between services, products and services. But is it binary? A question comes to the mind, right? That something is purely a product, something is only a service. Can anybody tell me? Yes, students.
So can you repeat the question? Could not hear you.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we talk about industry scenario, we talked about goods and we talk about services. What are goods? Goods are tangible things. Services are essentially intangible. Right? And then we have a big difference. But the question that comes, is there an overlap between goods and services? Okay? This is a very important question that comes to mind. That means, can you say that anything is purely a goods-based product, or something is purely a service-based product?
No, so there'll always be some overlap. Like suppose we are going for car servicing. So in the end, the car is serviced, but we also have a product at hand, which is a better product. So we are not giving a separate product like we say in goods, but even with the service, there is some product-based function also attached.
Yes, perfectly. So as you see in the slides also, there is an entire range. So on the left-hand side, you will have purely a tangible good, maybe like a soap, or maybe like any machine. So that's like a purely tangible goods. But many times goods have to be associated with services. If they are not associated with services, what will happen? That goods will not really help us out. So here you can see, when you see auto accompanying with repair services. So the car is the goods part of it, and the repairs, other things, customer service is the service part of it. So both of them come together. That's the point that's important. Restaurant, is it only about the courtesy of the waiter? That's something called intangible service, right? No, it's not. You have to have a very solid product, a very solid good. That means the restaurant should have very good infrastructure. The restaurant should have very good amenities. Restaurant should have very good food. Right? So all of those things. So therefore, that will boil down to mixture of goods and services. Obviously, making up any dish in a restaurant is a service, but obviously there is a raw material required for that, right? You need to have good quality stuff, rice, wheat, whatever you are doing, you should have good quality raw materials. And then if you have good quality service, then both of them working in synchrony, in synchronization together, that will create the perfect working product, right? and then these things can be scaled up. So, for example, you know what is a franchise? Anybody?
Yes, sir, a company will give its selling rights to some other, third party.
Hmm.
That's a franchise.
Okay. Can you give any example? Anybody else? Any example of a franchise?
McDonald's.
McDonald's is a classic examples. Classic example of franchise.
Yes, so like Starbucks, etc. So in India, maybe it's certain where Tata, but in Pune, etc., they are all are like franchises.
Yeah, franchise. So the meaning of franchise means a person sets up the system in such a perfection that it really doesn't matter who sells it. For example, McDonald's or Domino's or all of these things, their processes are well set up. The goods and service, they have excellent raw materials, then they will have excellent processes. So that accounts for the service, right? And they'll have excellent training to the staff. So their entire activities are like very well standardized, so that anybody can who basically qualifies to meet the basic requirement can go ahead and start selling. So what is the advantage? You can scale up at a much larger rate than it was ever possible if you started hiring people and trying to start 2, 10, 15, 20, 100 branches, because managing all of that is tough. People are very good at managing themselves, right? So what you do is you create the franchise, and then you charge a certain amount of fee for the franchise. Your raw materials are the only things that will be sold there. you know the processes will be standardized by you, the quality will be checked by you, and rest every other part of operation will be done by the store owner. The store owner will get profit also, because he doesn't have to start reinvent the wheel, quote unquote, so as to say, because you've already done that, and then the franchise works, and then it's profitable for everybody. So that's how this model came up. So there you will see that's again a product service continuum, and then towards the right side of the arrow, you will see there's a pure service. What is pure service? That is like you will have, let's say, doctor's exam, where, or maybe just a consultation, right? Consultation with a consultant. So he's going to, or simply an advisor. So that's purely a service. So you have got an entire gamut of things, from left hand side to pure tangible goods to pure services, and everything in between will have this overlap, and that's why it's called a continuum. Continuum. Anybody knows what is the meaning of a continuum?
So all the things in the middle are somehow interconnected. It's a continuous stream of, I don't know, some sort of thing.
Maybe
Yes.
like a chain or something.
Yeah. Continuum means there's no discreteness. Discreteness. What is discreteness? That means there's one, and then there is, a gap, and then there's something else. So anything in the physical world, you will find it's a continuum. That means water. It's a continuum. That means, everywhere you go, you will have, a tank of water. If you start swimming from one end to other, you will have water everywhere. But what's discrete? Discrete means like binary, 0 and 1. There's nothing in between. Uh, maybe something like steps. Every step is a discrete, right? Versus a ramp. Ramp is something which is called a continuum. So that's an example. Right? So continuum means this product service phenomena has an overlap, and it continues from the left end to the right end. So you'll have all those different ranges in between, right? So there's 0% service on the left and 0% product on the right, if you call that, and everything in between there's a ratio. So it's continuous. Okay. So this is basically again what this talks about: 100% goods going for groceries to consulting. Okay. And then you can just check out all of these slides where different industries, you will have percentage of product that is service, percentage of product that is good. So you'll see all of these automobiles. You'll have more goods based or FMCGs, and then you've got consulting, counseling. Most of that is service. So now we come to the production process. Okay, we're going to spend some time on these various slides and issues. So this is a very very important part. Okay, now when we look at any industry, what is the industry essentially doing? Okay, so so many times as kids you may have had this question, right? So maybe your father works in industry. What does he do working 8, 10, 12 hours a day? Right? So that is basically what we're going to unravel here as we go ahead and pass through various units, right, of this course. But essentially, the industry is a conversion process where inputs like land, manpower, material, machinery, money, management, information systems, and motivation, these are all inputs. Okay, they are taken through a conversion process. Okay, wherein you have got manufacturing, processing, conversion, right? And basically the inputs are transformed into working products. They are goods. Okay, so it may be product, it may be a you know intermediate part, you know uh, but yes, so that's basically what is called goods. And um, outputs have to be well controlled, because when you are producing certain things using a process, do you think that there will be 100% repeatability? Means everything has the same characteristics while manufacturing? Obviously, answer is no. There's going to be some variability. So you need to check what is the variability in the product, and if that variability is acceptable or it's beyond acceptable limits. Okay, so here you see the various points are there. You're seeing comparison, actual versus planned. So this is where you check. It's called quality control. Right? So you check the quality of the products that are coming out, the goods that are coming out, and then based on that, if required, a corrective measure can be taken. What's a corrective measure? The corrective measure will allow a person to basically see what is happening with the inputs. So, and then based on that, the manufacturing process is tweaked again, and then you are again getting your outputs. Okay, so here is an example. It's a food processor. Okay. So you've got inputs, processing, outputs, right? Food processing. So now, for example, inputs will be raw vegetables, metal sheets, water, energy, labor, building, and obviously various manufacturing equipment. What is the process? The processing is basically anything that is related to the processing of the raw materials, cleaning of the vegetables, making various cans, cutting the vegetables, boiling the vegetables, packing them, labeling them. These are all the various types. These are all the various types of processing activities. And then you have finally various outputs, right? And they are basically the canned vegetables. There may be various categories of them. They may be pure boiled, maybe some spiced up ones, various product ranges there. So one can basically see from this how inputs are done, what is processing and what is output. Okay. Now, again, the input processing output is also very useful for service industries. Now, tell me, which of these branches that you are in are more focused around goods which of the branches that you study are more focused around services? Inherently, yeah? You are from different branches, right? So can you tell which branches are more goods oriented?
So I think the hardware branches, mechanical and ENTC, they are more goods oriented, but computer science as of now is more of a service related because of all the IT companies and all of that.
Yeah, very very nice. The branches mostly like computer, AI, and then IT. They'll be more service oriented, and there'll be others like mechanical, uh, and then chemical, which will be goods oriented. And what lies in between?
So things like ENTC, etc.
Yeah, ENTC instrumentation will be both goods and services. Right? So, so that is a very very important certain mid range, right? So here is an example of a service. So hospital, what does it provide? It provides goods or services.
So service.
It provides health services. So you got health services that are being provided by the hospital. So what will be the inputs for them? Expertise will be the input, right? Doctors, nurses, they are the expertise. And then obviously there is a goods part of it, that is the medicine, the hospital infrastructure, equipment, the labs. Okay, what is the processing? Processing here will be the examination, the OPDs, the surgery, the monitoring, the medication, prescriptions, basically, therapies, and the outputs. Hopefully you get healthy patients. At the end. So one has to see every industry as a goods or a service provider. Right? Then you'll be able to see how well you can optimize things. So, what is the concept of value added? Okay. What does the industry do? Raw materials are available. Finished products can also be made at local level. But industry, what it does, it mass manufactures them, right? And in doing so, it adds value to the product. So anybody can take an example of, let's say, a pizza, right? So everybody sees raw materials, right? There is wheat, and dough is made out of wheat, and then there is yeast, there is sugar, salt, right? And there is cheese. So all of these are having a certain value. But what happens when you make a pizza out of all of this? Is the value increased or decreased?
So values increased.
Yes, logically the value increases. So that's called value added. Essentially, why does an industry work and function or profit? Because it takes a certain product which has a certain value, then it adds its own value to it. How does it add value? When you process the product, when you make it more convenient, because you can go to the market and buy all the raw materials, but then you have to spend a good 4 hours before you can get authentic pizza. Anybody makes pizza at home?
Yes, sir.
So how do you make it?
I make the dough, then I make the sauce, then I put the ingredients together.
Yeah, so you start from the dough, right?
Yes,
Because many times people think just buy the ready-made base, but that doesn't give you the taste, does it?
yes,
You got to toil hard. You got to take the dough. You got to put the, yeah. When I was studying in US, sometimes I had to, all the time I had to cook, but sometimes I used to cook pizza also, make pizza. So then you have to get the dry yeast and then blend it properly, let it rise. It takes how many hours to rise?
yes. At least 2 to 3 hours.
It
Let it sit in the fridge.
Yeah, it takes 2 to 3 hours. And pizza, you have to let it rise 2 times.
Yes,
Who knows that? If
yes.
after
Two
first rise
times.
you punch it down, then it rises
Yes,
second time. Right? So, you make it rise 2 times, and then that quality is good. The point here is, I'm not giving you a pizza making lesson, but it's hard work putting in all that energy and effort. So But the pizza making company is going to do that for you. Right? Therefore, they're adding value to the raw materials, to the inputs. And obviously, when they add value, they're going to cut off a good margin of profit. Right? So, so that's why, if you make a pizza at home, it will cost you much lesser than if you buy a Domino's or a Smoking Joe's, right? Or a Pizza Hut, right? So that's what they do. They add value. So this value added is very important. The difference between cost of inputs, the price of output is called the value added. Now, many times a business model revolves around understanding lecture. So many times a business model revolves around, what type of value you need to add. So you can have various business options. You can say that, let's say, I make coconut oil. Right? So coconut oil, you'll have a lot of competitors. You just take the coconuts and then you press oil out of them, right? Dry coconuts, you press oil and you. But see, oil is available everywhere. Many people, you have many competitors. But if you make it into a luxury product, maybe some exotic herbs, you put in them and make them fragrant and this and that. So you're going to sell it for much higher. Agree? Yes. Why? Because you've added more value to it. So many times industry do take the decision of adding more value so that you can have better, you can sell to a segment and get better profits. So, especially the luxury segment, people can make a lot of profit out of that. All you have to do is add enough value and then you are done, right? So then rather than selling just oil, you would have made less profit. But if you sell some beauty product, you will have much more profit. Okay. So here we come with the definition of, which leads to the definition of operations strategy. Okay. Production basically is the creation of goods and services. Everybody agrees? Yes. Okay. Now for productions, you have various operations. Any product that has to be manufactured, that has to be manufactured with series of operations. So operation function is a set of activities that creates goods and services by transforming inputs into outputs, right? So this is the transformation. This is the various operations wherein your goods are converted to services. Your raw materials are converted into finished products. Right? Then there is operations management. What is that? It is the management of a system or processes that creates goods and provides services. Okay? So that is operations management. That creates goods and provides services. So here you can see operations have to be well planned and designed. Okay, and you have to manage them. So you have to you have to do management of the systems and processes that create goods. Right. So that is operations management. And at the top level sits operations strategy. Okay, so what is operations strategy? It is the design, operation, improvement of system that create and deliver a firm's primary products and services. So you're not looking at only at operations management. You're looking at the design, operation, and improvement of the entire system of manufacturing. Okay, that creates and delivers a firm's primary products. So then it will come under managing operations. Okay, operations management. It will come as innovation in this. Okay, which is taken care of by various designs and day-to-day operations. So operation strategy takes care of innovations, managing them, and basically improving them. Right? So, and then this entire system will be very robust, by which one can get operational efficiency as per one's requirement. Okay. So that is related to operations strategy.